Àwọn kan lè jẹ, àwọn kan ò rí, àwọn kan wọṣọ àsìkò, àwọn kan sùn sábẹ́ gàdá, àwọn kan tó lè jọ bí iṣu, àwọn kan ń jọba, àwọn kan ń ṣẹ̀rú, wọ́n ṣe bí Olódùmarè, ọmọdé òòjọ́ ń ṣaláìsí, àwọn kan ṣàyè dàwọ́ máa, àwọn kan ṣọdún kan sunkún. Àwọn kan ń wojú Olódùmarè, ènìyàn rere wọ́n ibẹ̀ ọ́, ìbúrúkú wọn ń pẹ́lẹ̀ o, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé gbẹ̀gẹ́, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé gbẹ̀gẹ́, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé gbẹ̀gẹ́, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro, ọ̀màdé wà. Àwọn kan ń jọba, àwọn kan ń ṣẹ̀rú, àwọn kan ń ṣe bí Olódùmarè, ọmọdé òòjọ́ ń ṣaláìsí, àwọn kan ṣàyè àwa máa lọ, àwọn kan ń ṣọdún, àwọn kan ń sunkún Olódùmarè, ènìyàn rere wọ́n ibẹ̀ lọ, ẹni burúkú wọ́n ń pẹ́ nílẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé ṣòro, ọ̀rọ̀ ayé Some people can find a way, some people live by the day, some people have all the fun. When will it be our time? Few people take all the wealth, poor people bear all the pain, small people look to the skies. When will it be our time? Bless you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the African Portal Radio TV, Pretoria, South Africa. I welcome everybody. I remain yours, Kumo Africa. I'm presenting from the studio now, directly from the African Portal Radio TV, situated in Waterkloof, Pretoria, South Africa. So welcome everybody. Good morning your side. If you're in the afternoon, I say good afternoon to everybody watching us live and direct. If you are in the evening, I say good evening to you all. I say good afternoon. If you are from South Africa, yes, southern part of Africa, I say Dumelan, I say Saubonani, I say Khoimidar. So I greet everybody from eastern part of Africa. I say Abarisa Muchana. I'm greeting you from all parts of eastern part of Africa. Also in the northern part, I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Also from Southwestern Bonjour, if you have the money there. Also, I greet you in Nigeria, if you are in Nigeria, southern part of Africa, Ghana, Gambia, and the likes. I say good afternoon to you all. I say Ekason, that is in southern part of Nigeria. I say Inaoni, that is from the other side of northern part of Nigeria. I say Inaoni to you. I say Oihi Oma, that is the eastern part of Nigeria. I greet everybody with their respected greeting. I say good afternoon to you all. If you are watching us from outside the continent of Africa, I say good afternoon to you, good morning, good evening. If you're watching us everywhere, I greet you. I welcome you to the African Portal Radio TV, South Africa, where we focus on the development of Africa and the Africans. We give the culture, we promote the culture, we develop ourselves. We tell the world that Africa, we have potentialities. We can do our things the way we want. We can tell our stories the way we want it. The actual fact about Africa. So we need to tell our story the way it is in Africa. That is why we have the African Portal Radio TV, who is here to promote African culture, who is here to develop Africa. That is why we also engage in African brothers and sisters, both at home and in diaspora. I say good afternoon to you all as I'm presenting live to you on the African Portal Radio TV, Pretoria, South Africa. If you are there last week, you were with us last week, and you are here today, you know how we do our things. That Africa is my focus and is your focus. We must not leave Africa unattended to. We must not leave the problems of Africa unattended to. We must, both of us, we created the problem, then we must look for the solution to the problem. That is why we discuss the issues bothering Africa on the African Portal Radio TV. We engage our scholars, our experts, our professors, our uh, our guest speakers from different parts of Africa. We engage them on the solution to the problems of Africa. We cannot call people outside the country. We cannot invite people outside the continent to solve the problem being created by ourselves. The problem being created in Africa must be solved by the people in Africa. That is why Africa is for the Africa. That is why I remain Africa. I remain Kumo Africa. So we welcome everybody to our program today. As you know, the topic for today is the topic that we need to listen to, we need to watch, we need to educate ourselves on it, because it's very important. If truly we have the mindset of developing Africa, it means this topic for today is very important for all of us. It means that this topic we're talking about is to be listened to throughout the world, not only in Africa, but outside the continent of Africa. Because it's very important we understand why do we want to develop Africa. It's very important that we understand that Africa is ready. The youth in Africa, we are ready to take the bull by the horn. We are ready to solve the problems being created by us and by our leaders. We are ready to find the lasting solution to the problems facing Africa. That is why we chose this topic that is very important in the development and the life of Africa and the Africans, both at home and in the diaspora. The topic for today remains the African Continental Free Trade Area, that is AFCFTA, solution to African economic and trade challenges. I repeated, the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, solution to African economic and trade challenges. This is the topic we are going to engage our experts, our erudite scholar on. I want every one of us, our listeners from all over the world, our viewers, to go to our page. That is our Facebook page, the African Portal Radio TV International. You like our page, Then you go to our YouTube page. You subscribe to our YouTube page. That is the African Portal Media House. If you write the African Portal Media House, that is our YouTube page. You can subscribe. You like the button, then you click on bell. That is how you can watch us live on the African Portal Radio TV, Pretoria, South Africa. Now today we are discussing the topic I've rightly mentioned. And we are putting the round peg in the round hole. So you know, when you put a round peg in a round hole, it means you are making a sense. So you are doing justice to the topic we are discussing about today. So I brought to us our erudite scholar is an economist. He's an economist with a rich multidisciplinary background. He's a PhD holder in economics, complements a BSc in mechanical engineering and an MSc in technology management. He's currently assistant director, research at the National Center for Technology Management, Nacetem, Nigeria, where he contributes regularly to the development of science, technology, and innovation indicators, among other policy relevant subjects. His research experience spans a decade and a half, during which he has gained a deep understanding of the microeconomic factors that shape entrepreneurship and innovation in sub-Saharan Africa and beyond. His expertise on innovation and entrepreneurship in the context of sustainable development has been recognized in several forms, including media mentions, keynotes, guest lectures, consultancy projects, and policy engagements. In 2017, he was a speaker at the UN High-Level Study Visit to China on Science, Technology, and Innovation, STI, for the SDGs. In 2018, he was an invited expert at Nepal's Continental Expert and Practitioners Dialogue on Youth Entrepreneurship Promotion in Africa. He has also spent time at some of the world's topmost research clusters, including the Oxford Department of International Development. He is president 2019 to 2021 of the Nigerian Young Academy, a group of Nigerians leading young researchers and academics. So that is our guest for today. I now present to you our guest for today's topic in person of our Dr. Abiodun Egbetokun from the University Oau Ile Ife, Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile Ife. Welcome, Doctor. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Kumo Africa. Thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome to the African Portal Radio TV, where we discuss about the issue bothering Africa and the solution to the problem. Thank you for accepting our invitation to be part of this August visitor on our Radio TV International. So before we move on to the real topic for today, at least I've done justice to your introduction. But notwithstanding, I will have to allow you to just say hello and to greet our people, our listeners, and our viewers throughout the world.
All right, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Depending on which part of the world you are joining us from, it's a pleasure to be here. And the issue we're going to be discussing today is something that I believe is crucial, and it's very, very timely. As the host of the show has said, I come from an interesting background. I started out with a bachelor's in engineering. Today, when I encounter some of my BSc lecturers, it's always amazing to see how surprised they are to see that, you know, some young chap who came into the university to study engineering, then went ahead to study for a management master's degree, and then an economics PhD. It's quite interesting, and the story behind that is very, very long. I'm sure that we could do an entire show on that alone, and then I then landed in a role in policy research at the National Center for Technology Management, which is an agency of the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, but the office is situated on Obafemi Awolowo University. So, I straddle the policy space and the research space. First, I work directly for the Ministry of Science and Technology in the country, and then I'm situated in one of the office where I work is situated in one of the topmost universities in the country. So I kind of have a fair share of both worlds, both the policy world and the research world.
Thank you. Thank you. I think, as you've said earlier on, that we can use the whole show to just do justice to your background. But I promise you, maybe one of these days we'll bring you back to do justice to that one. That one will be based on your own profile as who is Dr. I think if you are trying to partner with our own radio TV station, we'll do justice to that. Then we'll have time to get details about you, sir. And thank you. You will take that one as a kind of invitation, whereby we'll try to converse on different things about who is Dr. Egbetokun Abiodun. So that will be topic for another day. So that
it would be my pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So, in order not to waste much of our time here, so I welcome you to the African Portal Radio TV. And the topic we are to discuss today, as we know that Africa, before we go to the main topic, the question I will just ask is that, are you proud to be an African man? That's the question.
Oh, I am totally proud.
Why are you proud to be an African man?
Okay, let me begin with the mundane. Let me begin with the mundane and then proceed to the more serious one. When I was much younger, I read an interesting article about the African skin tone and the benefits that it has. Actually, this article was written in a different context, trying to cast aspersion on people who prefer to tone or bleach their skin. That's a different conversation entirely. But my takeaway from that article was the fact that it was a young African child who was speaking, and the child was talking proudly about his skin tone being really dark. He said, in summer, I am the same. In winter, I am the same. In autumn, I am the same. And in spring, my skin tone is exactly the same. But if you look at people from other parts of the world, sometimes their skin tone changes based on exposure to sunshine and several other things. So, I mean, that's like a mundane point, but to be honest, for me, it's a blessing in that sense to be African. And statistically, Africa produces some of the finest talents on the planet Earth, to be honest.
Wow.
If you look at the size of the diaspora in most countries of the world today, a fair share of the diaspora comes from Africa. And these are not people who live on the streets. These are predominantly people who are at the zenith of their career, who do fantastic things. It's amazing to see that per capita in the United States, for example, Nigeria, I mean, this is the country I'm from, and I'm familiar with the statistics a bit more for Nigeria than for other African countries. So Nigeria produces the highest number of medical doctors in the United States as we speak, per capita. That is pound for pound, if you count person for person. We produce the largest number of some of the finest professionals. And there was some report written recently that said that among the diasporans in countries like the United States and Canada, Nigerians are some of the most professionalized per capita. So these kind of things give you a very high sense of pride to come from Africa. And it reflects in what I do on a daily basis. The other day I was speaking with a younger colleague of mine, and we were talking about the mother tongue, the lingua franca. And I told him that I am one of those who contribute to the beacon of hope that we have in Africa, that our language will not disappear. I speak in the mother tongue to my children. So I tell them you can speak all the English you want in school, but when you come home, you speak in Yoruba to me. That's my mother tongue. When I speak to you in Yoruba, you respond in Yoruba. If we're doing other things that has to do with school, maybe we can speak in English and all that. So I exhibit this pride. And my colleagues in the office, they joke. They make a joke about me. You will hardly ever see me in a tie and a suit. The occasion is extremely rare. So, for me, it's a beautiful thing to be African. It's a beautiful thing to have such a diverse, to come from a continent with such diverse and pristine culture. Yeah.
Thank you. Nice to be an African. That is what is Tap Radio TV is for. We promote African culture. We develop Africans. We don't want to forget our culture. We want to promote our culture. We want to retain our legacy of being an African, of being an African woman, of being an African child. That is what we are meant to be. That is what we are to be recognized with, not with foreign culture or whatever. We must maintain our culture. We must develop our culture. Our children must be able to say something about our legacy. So this culture still remains in Africa. It shouldn't be a strange culture in Africa. It shouldn't be a strange thing to our kids, to our wife, to our family. We must maintain it and we must let it be for life. So thank you for being an African. I used to tell people that we are black. They used to say, okay, we are dark in complexion. Yeah, but our brain is not dark. Our brain is with a lot of things
Absolutely
we can
not.
give to the world. So that was it. So let's go back to today's topic. As we know that Africa as a continent, we know that our population is 1.3. As a 1.3 plus, as of today, it's 1.3 plus billion. So if our population is like that, the question I used to ask, according to this Professor Patrick Lumumba, he used to say, okay, the Africa, we have largest population, but we are so beautiful that we attract. Africa is so attractive to other foreigners. Why are we so attractive to other foreigners? It means there is something hidden in Africa that needs to be exposed. There is something hidden in Africa that needs to be investigated. There is something hidden in Africa that needs to be taken into seriousness. We need to check that thing. What is that thing? That is why this thing of the African Continental Free Trade Area comes into existence. You still talk about it. I'm just giving a kind of preamble. Why is it that most of those foreigners, why are they leaving their country and coming to Africa? Why did they leave their country and come to Africa? What happened? Why did they do that? It means there's something in here that we are in that, we don't even recognize that thing. We don't even recognize what's really hidden under the continent of Africa. Now, later on, we are trying to wake up from our slumber by saying, okay, we need to do trade within ourselves. We need to engage ourselves. We need to see, why are these people coming to our country? Why are they coming to Africa? Why are the US Americans coming to Africa? Why are the Germans? Why are they coming to Africa? Why are the British? Why are they coming to Africa? What are they doing here? It means we need to, that is why we need to engage our people, to educate our people about the African Continental Free Trade Area, solution to Africa economic and trade challenges. If I should ask you this question, we have said it several times, that what does AFCFTA stand for? We have been saying it, I've said it several times as I started the program today. Maybe we should just go like this. Can you give us details on how AFCFTA came into existence, Doctor?
Yes, thank you very much. the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is, well, I don't even know whether there's a way to pronounce that as one word, AFTA or something, I don't know. But now, it was born out of a deep desire among African leaders to ensure that intra-African trade is upped. Now, recent statistics tells us that within Africa, 17% of our total trade is situated within Africa. So African countries, the volume, if you sum up the total volume of import and export of all African countries, 17% of these is coming from or going into other African countries, as compared to around 47% in Europe. So which means Europeans trade with one another far more than we do with one another in Africa. So in 2015, the African Union heads of state and government decided to open negotiations about creating a continental trade bloc. And for you to know how serious they were about this, and that's why I chose the expression deep desire. By March 2018, the negotiations that started around towards the end of 2015 are taking, negotiation meetings are taking place 10 times. Now, anyone who understands diplomatic relations will know that this is very difficult to pull off. For you to bring over 50 countries together to negotiate 10 times within a space of just over 2 years is a big deal. You need them to cooperate with you. So the fact that this negotiation happened at a very rapid rate shows that there was significant interest among African countries to take part in these. And so by 21 March 2018, the African Union started inviting member nations of the African Union to become signatories. Interestingly, some of the smallest countries in Africa by population were the first to jump on the bandwagon. Ghana, for instance, Ghana, Kenya, they were the very first countries to ratify the AFTA agreement. Nigeria, interestingly, was one of the last countries to sign. Now, but there were 22 countries that were required to have ratified the agreement for it to take effect. This happened, but the 22nd country signed the agreement on the 29th of April 2019, and then the agreement came into force about a month after that, which was on the 30th of May 2019. At that time, only 3 countries had not signed. That was Benin, Nigeria, and Eritrea. Nigeria later signed much later after that. But it is interesting because, 17% of Africa's total GDP and 20% of Africa's overall population is situated in Nigeria. So the absence of Nigeria from the beginning was very, very significant. In fact, I could say that a lot of African countries, African leaders were a bit worried that Nigeria didn't join. I remember the South African president at that time actually made a public statement, which has now become a bit famous, that Nigeria, the whole of Africa is waiting for you. That's President Cyril Ramaphosa. I said he did make that statement. So eventually Nigeria joined, and then the AFTA began. Trading under AFTA was supposed to begin on the 1st of January this year. There was a launch event that took place in Accra, Ghana, and the leadership of the government of Ghana was magnanimous enough to donate a secretariat. So that's kind of, well, that history could have gone into a textbook, which I tried to wrap into a couple of minutes there.
Okay, I can see that. Okay, yeah, I can get you right on that. You have put us through. You have let us know how Africa, whatever African continental trade, free trade area came into existence. Was there any purpose or aim of creating Africa?
Yes, as I mentioned, there was this deep desire to increase the volume of trade within Africa. And this is important because, as it is said, if I could use this reference, that a house divided against itself cannot stand. When you do not when you do not trade within the continent, what it does mean is that there is a level of cooperation that does not exist between and among countries on the continent. So one of the primary aims of AFTA is to ensure that Africa can come together and use the power of the sheer size of our market to get very good trade deals for the member countries of the African Union outside Africa. So here we're talking of a population of about just over 1.3 billion people. The size of the market alone is overwhelming. Is about the combined GDP of all African countries is more than 3 trillion. So this is like having big players coming together to negotiate. So it helps African countries to get better trade deals, and then AFTA will promote economic integration across the continent. Apart from ensuring that jobs are created, businesses are supported, trade barriers are removed to a very large extent. And there is some research that does suggest that when countries cooperate in trade, their development tends to go faster. So these are some of the aims that have been encapsulated into the AFTA vision.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. If you look at this free trade area we're talking about, do you think how is it going to be operated? If you look at the situation, the way it's going now, how is it going to be operated? People want to know how they are they going to benefit from it? How is it be operated in Africa?
Yes, that's a very good question, and to be honest, I really don't know whether there's a very simple answer to that question, but I'll try to break it down. Now, the implementation itself is going to happen in several phases. So I was talking about the signing of the agreement earlier. The first set of countries that signed as far back as 2018 at the Kigali Summit. Now, bear in mind that at that Kigali Summit, there were two other important agreements that were signed. One of these is very, very crucial to the functioning of AFTA itself. It is the Free Movement Protocol. Basically, this is what allows, encourages African countries to allow other nationals of other African countries to move freely. This is very crucial to trade. So the first phase of the agreement was what was signed at the Kigali Summit. Certain aspects were agreed regarding trade protocols, dispute settlement procedures, customs, and all that. And then there's the second phase, which is going to take care of some issues that still need to be negotiated. And so the manner in which the agreement itself will operate in practice will depend on what each country brings to the table. What are the export commodities? What are the services? What are the manufactured goods that each country wants to trade? And how much tariff are they willing to give? But as a minimum, the agreement requires every country in Africa to aim for up to 90% reduction in in tariffs across countries. So when you export goods into another country, by the tariffs could reduce by up to 90%. So these are some of the specific benefits that businesses will begin to get. Okay. There was okay. So in practice, each business will be left to take advantage of all of these provisions that are there. So basically, this is not going to be like a unitary marketplace, like the grocery store that you go to, that we will say, okay, this is where our free trade area is located. No, the entire continent becomes the free trade area. And this began effectively on the 1st of January. So once the phase 2 negotiations are completed, then every business will begin to trade under the AFTA agreement.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation. Do you think our African leaders are ready for this project? if you should look at the interstate crisis among the Africans themselves, do you think our leaders are ready?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I think they are. I mean, I kept emphasizing the deep desire for integration that led to the emergence of the free trade area itself. Now, one has to admit, and it is a concern about whether our leaders are ready or not, is in fact very valid. The reason is, as I mentioned, Nigeria, which was supposed to take the lead in this kind of things, was one of the last countries to join the bandwagon. So that for me is a textbook definition of a shaky start. You don't want to look for another definition of a shaky start than that. So if you take all of that into consideration, you wonder whether this is something we are ready for. But to be honest, putting policy issues aside, which I'm sure that our conversation will touch upon maybe later, putting policy issues aside, I believe that the politics of Africa is ready to operate a free trade area of this nature. And you will see, like I said earlier, the government of Ghana already donated a secretariat. The Pioneer Secretary General is from South Africa. So you see that the countries are already willing to work together to make sure that this works. So it's huge. And if I may just give one example for you to know that there's now a huge appetite for intra-African trade. Now, annually, there's an intra-African trade fair that holds in some different countries. There was one that held in Cairo in December 2018. Projections of the organizers was that the total volume of trade that would take place there would be around 25 billion, give or take a few clicks here and there. You know that the volume of trade that took place there eventually was around 30 billion US dollars, far in excess of what was anticipated. So this shows you that there's a huge appetite now for intra-African trade, and our leaders are just taking advantage of that.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So, as you have rightly said, that our leaders are ready to trade within themselves or even among themselves, irrespective of the crisis that may be arising. For now, so I think when the trade goes into full operation, I think all the crisis we are talking about will just diminish without being discussed. I think so. So if that should be the case, then can you elaborate on the way on how it can make Africa unite? Because we know that in Africa we have a lot of problems. Of problems. If you could remember that last year, you notice what happened between Nigeria and Ghana. If you could remember, during trade wars with among the locals and the likes. So, can you just say how this trade, how is it going to make Africa unite?
Okay, now the key word to that, and I think this is a fairly straightforward thing, the key word to that is vested interests. All right, vested interests. Yeah. Now, there is a way that governments respond differently in contexts where they have positive vested interests. Vested interest could be of two types. There could be negative vested interest. So you are interested in a place, you just don't want it to grow, you don't want it to develop, and so on and so forth. And then there is the positive side of vested interest, where because you have investments in a particular country in a particular context, or the context of the country helps you to create employment for your own citizens, or helps you to grow your own domestic economy by creating a market for what your local businesses produce. Chances are that you don't want to malign that kind of context. All right. So by encouraging increased intra-African trade, what we are doing indirectly is increasing the stakes that every African country has in every other African country. So the Nigerian stakes in South Africa will become higher, because then it becomes, the volume of trade from Nigeria that goes to South Africa has gone up, the same with Ghana, and so on and so forth. One way or another, you see that the volume of conflict will just naturally begin to reduce. That's not to say that we don't have to make effort in reducing conflict. What it doesn't mean is that it becomes easier to bring one another to the negotiation table. Why? Because we have vested interest. So suddenly the South African man will begin to care what happens in the Nigerian economy, in the economy of Botswana, in the economy of Mozambique, and so on and so forth. You know, things that didn't matter to us before will suddenly begin to matter. So I see that as the fundamental vehicle upon which African integration would be driven by the existence and the effective operation of the free trade area.
Okay, thank you very much. So I can strongly agree with you on that. That maybe due to vested interest in every individual, individual country, that can make us to be united. So I hope so that that thing will work well with us in Africa. What do you see to the Africa as a continent trading with other continents? You know, we have different continents in the world. Yeah, Africa trading with other continents. What do you see to that? Any breakthrough?
Yes, I mean the on its own, in its own right, the African Continental Free Trade Area is a major breakthrough in terms of intercontinental trade between Africa and other continents. Because up till now, different economic blocs on the African continent have been negotiating trade partnership deals with other continents.
Okay.
ECOWAS has some deals with Europe and other continents. The East African community have their own, the SADC, COMESA, and so on. You know, we've been operating in pockets like that. So coming together as a continent under one free trade area allows us to speak with a common voice. So this, after in its own right, represents a major breakthrough on that front. But there are important hurdles to overcome in the process. You know, there is the problem of standards and specifications. Some years back, I think this happened under the President Obasanjo administration in Nigeria. I can't remember precisely when it happened, but there was a case when certain agricultural products were returned to Nigeria from Europe, and these were heavy shipments. Why? Because they did not meet the food quality standards in the destination country. All right. So we would need to do a lot more internally if we want to trade effectively with other continents as far as standards and specifications are concerned. Some of the things we would overlook in terms of quality, other continents may not necessarily overlook it. And you would understand because their development profile is slightly higher than our own as we speak. So the things we care about, they may not care about. The things they care about, we may not necessarily care about. The things we will overlook, they may not overlook. But the truth remains that AFTA itself is a major breakthrough as far as Africa's intercontinental trade with other continents is concerned.
That's nice. If that should be the case, then it's fine. So we're going to have a kind of a huge success and achievement when it's being put into practice. Now, what do you see? I mean, this African continental free trade area at the moment, any progress in achieving their goals?
Yes, there are elements of significant progress. Yes, there was the launch of trading under the AFTA agreement in January 1. So on January 1, 2021, the Secretariat now exists. Okay. The Secretariat will be responsible for coordinating the entire protocols and so on and so forth. And there is a Secretary General who is going to manage that process that has been appointed. And several more nations have dropped their ratification instrument. You know, it's one thing to sign the agreement, it's another thing to deposit your ratification document. Several countries signed but did not submit their ratification documents. About 34 countries have done that as of now. So These are important milestones that indicate progress. Now, there is a huge advantage. Well, I don't know if we can directly refer to these as achievements of the aims of AFTA, but this is going to be an important facilitator. The emergence of Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as the Director General of the World Trade Organization. These, to be honest, this is a very, very huge advantage for the achievement of the goals and the aims and the aspirations of AFTA. And majorly also, the countries, the African Union member countries have now agreed on rules of origin. You know, I mentioned earlier that that's one of the reasons why some countries did not sign initially, because there were delays. These are some of the negotiations that should take place in phase 2. But several countries have been able to agree with what we now call rules of origin, which defines how countries will trade, what happens when goods come from somewhere, and so what types of goods come from somewhere, what kind of tariffs are we going to impose, and all that. So these are very close to being finalized. And so once these kind of things begin to emerge, it becomes easier to see tangible and measurable achievements of the free trade area on the ground. But from the academic point of view and from the political point of view, there's a lot that has been achieved, some of which I just highlighted.
Okay, thank you for that. So, do you envision in the execution of Africa Continental Free Trade Area? How do we get out of the problems?
Well, let's not go on too much about the problems. I like the other part of the question. How do we get out of the problem? I can do a quick rundown of some of the problems that I know will bedevil the operation of the free trade area. I can summarize all of these under two broad headings. The first one is the problem of poor coordination. You see, historically in Africa, we don't coordinate well. Historically, we just don't. And I wouldn't know why that is the case. I mean, there's a lot of structural issues that we may claim are responsible. But of our business when it comes to collective bargaining in Africa, across countries, we don't bargain collectively enough yet. So these are fundamental issues, and then there are bureaucratic and infrastructural issues. The Africa suffers a huge infrastructural deficit, and without good infrastructure, you cannot trade well. We suffer a logistics deficit. Moving goods from point A to point B in Africa is comparatively more expensive than if you would do it in other continents. We're going to have to deal with all of these as well. Now, how do we deal with some of these problems? The starting point is that our leaders need to come together. We need to start by harmonizing our industrial policies. This is very, very crucial. This is where we will achieve coordination. So, for instance, if the AFTA agreement allows countries to maintain a 3% exclusive list. Now, what that exclusive list means is that even if you reduce tariffs on everything, you don't reduce tariff on this one, so that other countries are not able to export those particular things into your country cheaply. That way, you help to protect your own local industry. But a problem comes if, for instance, I was a country, you were a country, I am protecting sugarcane. You are also protecting sugarcane. The problem is it becomes difficult for me to export my sugarcane into your country. It becomes difficult for you to export your sugarcane into my country. Who then buys from us? And if at any point I have a deficit of sugarcane, where do I buy from? So unless we coordinate our industrial policy in such a way that we are developing complementary sectors, we're going to run into trouble. So one key solution here is that African leaders need to come to the table and try to harmonize our industrial policies. we have to coordinate on that front. And then secondly is that going out there to negotiate, it should be with other continents, this should be done collectively so that the interest of multiple countries are protected at once. And then I must mention the necessity of heavy investment, heavy domestic investment in infrastructure. China is investing a lot in infrastructure in Africa, but domestically we need to do a lot more because we are the ones who understand where the shoe pinches. We should be able to know where to make targeted and impact investment to drive the system. And let me also mention a particular technical issue. As we speak, there is no functional cross-border payment system in Africa. So, it's easy for me to use MoneyGram to transfer money from maybe Nigeria to some other country or to receive money, use MoneyGram or any other money transfer thing. But when you're speaking about trade, the volume of transactions that are involved are not the kind of things that you want to wire like that. Otherwise, you lose a lot of money, delays businesses and business transactions and all that. So we need a functional cross-border payment system to be up and running as quickly as possible. So these are some of the problems, and you see that as I'm mentioning them, I'm also mentioning ways forward in a sense. And I must mention that all of these problems present opportunities for African entrepreneurs to support the implementation of the AFTA and to also benefit from it.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Because I could remember when they were launching one money for one currency, then in western part of Africa, okay, they will be using it to transfer business, maybe among the ECOWAS nation. I hope here also they have something like that in the eastern part of Africa. I don't know that of that northern part of Africa. So using of the same currency. Why can't we just agree? What do you see to that? Can't we just agree on just a unitary currency that we're going to use to do transaction for trade? What do you see to that? Instead of this region creating their own currency, this region also creating their own currency. What do you see to that?
Well, it might be a good idea. I'm saying might because the experience of the European Union with the euro tells us that if you don't have a sophisticated, a sufficiently developed financial infrastructure in terms of systems and services and institutions, it becomes really difficult to manage that. Europe has a European Central Bank, and yet they struggle with the management of the euro. We have to bear in mind that once we have a common currency, it removes a certain amount of fiscal sovereignty from individual countries. And that's why in some countries, even though they are part of the European Economic Area, they did not sign up for the use of the euro. Britain, for instance, many Scandinavian countries, you can use euro, but their domestic currency is used in parallel. So it's a potentially beneficial initiative, but I don't believe that the financial infrastructure in Africa is sufficiently sophisticated to deal with it. That's one technical issue that we're going to have to deal with before we begin to speak about the development or the use of the common currency.
The common currency. Okay, thank you very much, sir. So look at our time, we have less than 8 minutes to round everything out.
Wow.
But before we go on, I will just say, with effective execution of AFTA, how will you see Africa in the year 2063?
Oh, if AFTA is executed effectively, I foresee an Africa that is more productive, really, considerably more productive at household level, at individual level, and at business level. And the reason I'm saying that is 40% of all economic activity on the African continent today is in the informal sector. A minimum of 40%. This figure keeps changing, but it's as the last time I checked, it's a minimum of 40%. One of the things that AFTA will allow us to achieve is that these kinds of businesses will also be able to participate in highly productive value chains. This enhances their productivity. They become more competitive, and Informal businesses can then transform, micro businesses can grow over time to become small businesses. Small businesses will transform to become medium, and so on and so forth. So I foresee an Africa that will be more productive and an African continent that diversifies. As of today, most of the exports from the African continent is in primary goods. We call them primary exports of primary goods, non-processed natural resources, and so on and so forth. With effective execution of AFTA, I see Africa being able to add more value into the portfolio of what we export outside the continent. So in the long term, in the medium term, in the long term, is going to be an extremely beneficial thing.
Thank you very much. I think I also that in the year 2063, we will have seen Africa as one of the highest continent. I mean, developed. Let me call it like that. The developed continent in the world and the most productive continent in the world. I hope so too. So, before we end our program, what would be your recommendation or suggestion to our African leaders in making sure AFTA is well executed? Because if you look at it, when government money for a project and it's being distributed to the appropriate quarters, later on we just hear that we will just be hearing the money. We won't see the project on ground. They will say, okay, money, but money is allocated to this project. We hear it on TV, we watch it, we listen to it on radio, but you just see that nothing is being done on this. Everybody is complaining about service delivery in every part of African countries. We have a problem of our service deliveries by our leaders. Now, my question is, what will be your own recommendation as a youth? What will be your own suggestion to our African leaders in making sure that this, after we are talking about this continent, African continental free trade area, is not being jeopardized?
Yeah, well, two things. Number one is that we're going to have to deal with the problem of collective bargaining that I mentioned earlier, because it is in the absence of this kind of common understanding that worthless competition will emerge. So Ghana is doing this, Nigeria wants to do the same thing. In fact, there's a recent research study that shows that every time Botswana introduces an industrial policy that is working for them, South Africa just copies the same policy. That's worthless competition. When you compete even at the policy level, it's worthless. So if we indeed want AFTA to work, our leaders need to operate under a system of understanding that emphasizes competitive advantage, not everybody wanting to do the same thing at all times. You pick the sectors or the areas in which you are most competitive and develop your economy in that area. Other areas that others have selected, other sectors, you support them to get the best out of it. So if we work with such kind of complementarities, it becomes easier. And then the second thing is that we need to deal with the problem of corruption on the continent. It's a very, very, very important issue that we need to deal with if indeed we want to reap the benefits of the free trade area.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate that. So your advice as an economist to African entrepreneurs, both at home and in diaspora, what would be your advice to them towards this sector?
Yes, this is the time for entrepreneurs to engage. You see, one thing that we have observed from the academic point of view with the typical African entrepreneur is that when policies are being formulated, they don't engage. Okay? It is only when the policies are being implemented and they realize that these policies have negative implications for their business interests that they begin to talk. So the African entrepreneur, this is the time to engage with your representatives, with your leaders, to make your voice heard on how AFTA should work. What will be good for business, what will not be good for business. We need to remember that many of the people that appear at the negotiation table, a lot of them are career politicians. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. And we in some cases we can't even guarantee that entrepreneurs are fully involved in defining the things that will affect businesses on the ground. And so this is the time for entrepreneurs on the African continent to come together and present a common position regarding how the agreement should be formulated in a way that would pay off for businesses, both in the short term and in the medium term.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I forgot to raise one issue, which is very important, but we came to ending with it. Then after that, we just advise the youth generally. So because it's mostly important that we discuss about that, how do you think AFTA can be of great tool in developing Africa economy?
Oh,
You know, as we have been saying all this, yeah, how do we? How do we think Africa can be of great tool in developing Africa's economy?
There are two fundamental ways in which this is going to happen. AFTA will help us to achieve what I refer to as economic inclusion. By economic inclusion, I mean the possibility of businesses that either two are not able to compete effectively and efficiently to also enter a productive value chain. I was illustrating earlier with the case of the informal sector. Okay, putting them on a productive value chain already changes the livelihoods of so many people. So we're going to see an upsurge in employment. We're going to see an upsurge in farm level productivity across the continent. We're going to see an upsurge in the number of decent employments that people can get. Because one of the problems of Africa to date is that we are moving people away from the rural area, so from agriculture, and so we are distorting the value chain of our food production systems. We are moving these people into urban centers, but they are entering low productivity jobs, even in the urban centers. So I foresee a scenario under which AFTA would change all of these. You know, whatever any business gets into is potentially productive under AFTA. So that alone would help in reducing the burden of unemployment, and then the quality of life should naturally go up, connected to that. So that's one fundamental way. The other fundamental way in which development will come is that ultimately a diversified economy drives development. So the different African economies would diversify. We would move away from our resource dependence into dependence on more value-added products, and then this is going to increase gross national revenue across board.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. The last but not the least for today's program is that what would be your advice to the youth in Africa?
Yeah, my advice to the youth.
The assertion. Okay. Yeah, you can go.
Yes, my advice to the youth is quite similar to the message I have for entrepreneurs. Engage. You know, the managers of the African Union have been sufficiently thoughtful to create a platform for the youth to engage. The African Union has a youth platform, actually. They have an annual youth summit. This is an opportunity for the youth to engage at the continental level. You know, we are recently witnessing a massive emigration of young talents from the African continent. It's difficult given the security challenges that we have to begin to blame individuals for wanting better lives for themselves. But collectively, I think we need to also sound the message of the necessity to engage with the people who formulate the policies that affect our lives, including the African Continental Free Trade Area initiative.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abiodun Egbetokun from the OAU, that is the Assistant Director at Nacetem, Nigeria, your Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile Ife, Osun State of Osun in Nigeria. We really appreciate your coming to our program live on the African Portal Radio TV International, Pretoria, South Africa. We really appreciate your coming, your contribution, your knowledge you have been given to us since we started the program. We say God will be with you and you grow bigger in life with success. We say thank you very much. I hope next time we call upon you, I hope you won't hesitate to just respond to our calling.
Of course. It will
Thank
always be my pleasure.
Okay, thank you, sir. African Portal Radio is an avenue for everybody in Africa. I mean, the truly African sons and daughters, both at home and in diaspora. You are welcome at any time for your program or whatever research program you want to engage us with. You make use of our African Portal Radio TV. We are there to promote Africa and Africans in Africa and outside the Africa. We really appreciate your coming to our program. Thank you very much to our listeners, our viewers from different parts of the world. I can see a lot of comments on our radio stream and the likes. So we say thank you for those who watch us live from different parts of the world. Say thank you. God bless you. Till we meet next week, I remain yours, Kumo, Africa. And I will want you to join us next week also for other program. Till next week, Africa is your focus. Africa is my focus. Let us let us build Africa of our own we want. And I pray that God will be with us. Till next week, Africa is my focus. Bye for now.
Bye.
Was he doing that duty? Was the culprit identified, arrested, or tried? Why is HIV mostly killing Africans? Why was HIV discovered after African independence? Where are ARVs? Do they give them for free or they sell? Why do we have political unrest and civil wars after independence? Is the trouble caused an African or a non-African? When will Africa gain her independence? Why are churches mushrooming in countries with poverty? Why are prophets given more respect than heavenly God? Why are nowadays these churches mainly about miracles, prosperity, and tithing, not repenting? When Africans are on their way to Europe, and why is Africa not diaspora to Africans? Are Africans Christianity or repenting, or they are Christians by colonization? Is abortion family planning or marriage sold? Why condoms are given for free? Why are prisoners fed with delicious food while school children can't be fed with a substandard meal? What was Africa's name before colonization? Is law the will of people or politicians' ambition? Is sports social or political? Why are females paid less than men? God loves his people. God loves us rain. A natural resource is water. A basic need is water. Water is life. Why do we sell water? Why is water sold? And why? Who invented the sale of water? Who authorized the sale of water? Who approved the sale of water? Who was consulted before it was sold? How is water priced? Was selling of water consultative or deliberately detected? In pricing of water, we poor sold. Why? Whose water? Who planted water? Whose fountain does water fall from? Where is the farm of water? Who takes care of water? A necessity is water, a basic water. Life is water, water is life. Why is water sold? Why? Water is unhealthy, but water collected from river types is bottled, poisoned, and confirmed healthy. Won't we buy bottled oxygen anytime soon? It seems very soon we will be buying bottled oxygen. Who is benefiting from selling of water? Did he play any role in bringing water to earth? Does he manufacture water? Is he helping or necessitating the suffering of people? Does Heavenly God get commission from selling of water? I see people sinking and suffering, all in the name of selling water. We are our own enemies. Why are we our own enemies? Is that developmental or anti-humanity? Will God, the water provider, be wrong if he stops rainfall? Thunder and earthquakes are the signs of God's wrath. God gives water for free, we exchange water for money. Water is life. Why is water sold? Maji ni maisha, kwa nini maji anauzwa? Porque se vende el agua. Why is water sold? I am nobody, I am just somebody. I am a civilian, I am a human being. I'm a consent. I'm just asking for I want to know why it has sold. I am open to it. The sale of water, who authorized the sale of water, who approved water priced, was selling of water consultative or deliberately? Poor people considered or consulted. A birthright is who owns water, who planted water, whose fountain does water fall from, where is the farmer of water, who takes care of water, a necessity is water, a basic need is water, life is water, water is life. Why is water sold? Why? Water from the river is dead. Collected from rivers and tapes is pocket poisoned and confirmed healthy. When we buy pocket oxygen anytime soon, it seems very soon we will pocket oxygen. Who is benefiting from selling of water? Did you play any role in water? Does he manufacture water? Taking the suffering of people. Does heaven God get commission from selling of water? I see people sinking and suffering all in the name of